Hello, today we're making broth, and I like to make a huge batch of broth from the turkeys that we've butchered throughout the summer. So today is turkey broth, and then later on this week I'll be doing chicken broth as well. So what I have is a huge pot that I love for making broth because, like I said, I make a lot and then I end up cooking it down, but it's great to start with a huge pot. And this has a insert in the middle so that you can lift it up and drain the broth off, which is very helpful as well. So what I'm starting with are a couple huge turkey backs, all the giblets I've had, any pieces like maybe the wingtips, just whatever I did not use from my turkeys this year that we butchered. And we usually keep a whole turkey for Thanksgiving, but we also grind a few of the turkeys. So all those pieces are also left over, and we have those. And I put all those frozen, I've been collecting them, so I put all those frozen pieces in my pot. And then I go out to my garden and I get some herbs, and I pick celery with the leaves and carrots from my garden. Of course, I'm going to wash all this. I have a few onions that I grew and leftover garlic pieces. I don't put a lot of garlic in there, but I do put some. And then I get herbs that I put in there. So I have sage leaves, I have oregano, I have some thyme, there's marjoram in there, I think there's tarragon or something. I just pick a nice assortment of whatever I have that's out there and cook it in. You can find several recipes for broth, and you may have your own preferences for what you like to do, but this is how I make it. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to wash all of this off and cut the carrots and the onions and kind of squish up the garlic. The celery I will leave whole and use the leaves as well, but I'll chop that up a bit too. Okay, so I cut up all the herbs and the vegetables, got them all washed. They are mixed up in this bowl, and I'm going to take them over and add them to my turkey pieces. So I brought all that over and I tucked it in around the turkey pieces, and it's down into the broth pot now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that all the way up to the top with water. I don't want it so full that it's going to boil over, but I want it to hopefully cover all the stuff that's in the middle. So I'm going to bring the water out and cover that up. Okay, I have it all covered over with fresh cold water. And I'm going to put the lid on it, turn it on high till it starts boiling, and then I'm going to let it simmer all day. Probably a good 6 to 8 hours, maybe later, depending on when I finish all my stuff outside. This delicious broth has been simmering all day long. It's been about 6 hours since I put it on to start. And you can see it looks all cooked and yummy. It smells delicious in here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull out that insert, which makes it so much easier, and drain all the broth out. And I'm going to go through and get the meaty pieces out and pick off the done meat and save that to use for soups or casseroles, whatever I want to use it for this winter. And I will probably throw the rest out to the chickens once it cools. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cool this broth. So I'm going to let it sit probably overnight, because I'm not going to mess with it yet tonight, and let it cool. And I will scrape off that layer of fat that collects on the top. And then tomorrow I will reheat it and let it cook some more until it cooks down, maybe a couple hours. Let it cook down some more. And then I'm going to pressure can it. Make sure you pressure can broth. You cannot water boil it or do anything else with it. Pressure cook it. And I will have lots of broth to use this winter. So I hope you enjoyed making broth, and I hope you have the opportunity to make some of your own.